Am I the asshole for telling my wife she's not the boss? For starters, my M41 wife, F39, have been together 16 years. When she met me, I was at the height of my business and starting to go up from there. Even during the pandemic, my business is still booming. I had my own house, that I lived in by myself, a couple cars and a cottage, although that is unrelated. I own my own factory refurbishing various re-engineered equipment, mostly HVAC stuff. About 3 years after we got married, she decided she had enough of working odd jobs and making not so great money at it, so she expressed she wanted to be a SAHW. I had no problem with this. We don't have kids and don't plan on having any, so I saw this as a win-win, as she got to stay home, and I came home to a nice house. After 3 years of this, she was tired of being a SAHW and wanted to rejoin the workforce. Since she could really only find odd jobs, I suggested she work at my shop. I pretty much created a job for her doing small admin stuff. Nothing crazy, as I used to do all this myself plus work on the floor, but this took a load off my shoulders. Obviously she got paid a healthy wage for her work, and I hired a cleaner to come in once a week to help us clean and maintain the house. On to the problem. One of my workers accidentally ordered 20 of one part instead of 2. This was a bit of a big deal, as now instead of being out a few $100s, I'm now out thousands. While I wasn't royally pissed off, this did put a large dent in my overhead, so I had to offload these parts. Barely made my money back, but that's beside the point. My wife, however, found out and absolutely berated this poor guy. I've had this guy work for me for over 10 years and his work is solid. He's a hard-working man, 2 kids, another on the way, and he's become my go-to guy for almost anything. I didn't hear any of the situation until I heard screaming from my wife that she was going to fire him and he cost her hours of rework and budgeting, etc. This is simply not true, as 2 phone calls and some editing on our books and everything would be right as rain. Tops a 1-hour affair. She and he finally filled me in and I told her to leave the room so I could talk to him. She refused. I asked again and once again she refused. I asked one more time and my worker was on the verge of tears and I yelled at her and told her, "You're not the boss, I am. I make these decisions, now leave." I talked it over with him, we made amends as it was an honest mistake and he hasn't had a screw up like this since he started, so I'm not concerned about it happening again. My wife was livid and after yelling about his screw up has refused to talk to me. I'm clearly in the doghouse here, but I refuse to think I did anything wrong, as she was, in my opinion, being needlessly unreasonable and on a power trip. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. If your wife pulled that crap in any other job, she'd be fired on the spot. At work she's your employee, not your wife, and she has zero business treating your employees like this. Employees with far more seniority to her nonetheless. Not the asshole, but this is one of the reasons many people refuse to mix business and family. It inevitably becomes personal and not everyone can separate the two. One of your employees started berating one of your other employees and threatened to fire him without the authority to do so, and you're entirely letting that slide because she happens to be your wife. If you're going to hire through nepotism, you need to be ready for uncomfortable conversations and make sure boundaries are drawn. You don't get to pick your battles. You're absolutely underreacting to this outburst in a way that is letting down your employee. Not the asshole. In fact, if any of my employees pulled that kind of crap screaming at and threatening to fire someone who worked for me, they'd be out on their ass so fast. The fact that your wife did this and has put you in the doghouse when she was the one so blatantly out of line it's not funny shows what kind of person she is. If you want to save any kind of face and earn back your employees' respect, you'll fire the wife. Then think long and hard about your relationship. Marriage counseling should definitely be on the plan for how insanely disrespectful she is to you. Not the asshole. Time to fire your wife and have her find her own jobs. Not the asshole. Your wife would make a terrible boss. You don't crap on a loyal employee for making an honest mistake. He lost you some money this time. How much money has he made you in the 10 years he's been with the company? Not the asshole. The title is kind of misleading because you are the boss. She needs to find something else to do. If she can't find meaningful employment, how about volunteering or going back to school? You are the asshole for not firing her. Info. Are you firing your wife and giving the committed, long and faithful service employee a raise, or are you going to continue to foster this hostile environment to keep wifey happy? INB for all the comments possibly trashing you to any extent, not the asshole. Seems like she's enjoying a bit of a power trip, but she really crossed the line in berating, screaming at him, threatening him with firing, and finally refusing to leave the room. You need to make a choice. You can allow your wife to continue working there, or you can lose a lot of valuable employees. She just showed you that she isn't deserving of the trust you placed in her by employing her at your company. If she's yelling like that at your go-to guy, I will bet you $100 that she is treating everyone there like she's their boss. I know therapy is the default, but seriously, she needs to go and figure her SHT out. It's way past time she grew up and figured out what she wants to be when she grows up, and also respectful boundaries and communication skills. Good luck. It's going to take a miracle for you to keep marriage and business healthy. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Wow dude, you chose poorly multiple times. I'm gonna say she shouldn't be working there, which will probably lead to your divorce. If she stays, get ready for lots of complaining about how all the workers treat her badly. Not the asshole. Sounds like someone needs to find another job. This isn't good for your business or marriage. She does for mistreating your employee, you for mixing family into business after 16 years and treating her with a deference you wouldn't give another employee. Your wife will never be your work subordinate no matter how much you want to pretend otherwise. Fire her before she damages your business. Your employees don't need a second unaccountable boss over their shoulder. Not the asshole. I'm happy you stood your ground. Your wife clearly went above your head and began berating this man though it's not in her pay range. She is not his boss, she is working a position you made up. Yes, she does the work and probably a good job, but she still had no right to yell at a man for a mistake, especially someone who isn't making these mistakes every time. It seems like she has control issues. She didn't like working odd jobs because not enough control there. She didn't like being a SAHW because there was literally no one to control there. Now she has the opportunity to boss people around and takes advantage. This is definitely not a move she would pull if she wasn't married to the boss. Not the asshole. Your wife handled this incredibly unprofessionally. This was a one-off error, she overstepped but worse, made the workplace a hostile environment for another. You handled it as well as you could. Good luck getting out of the doghouse, you don't deserve to be there. Not the asshole, but you need a reality check. Working with family is hard as hell. Your wife was extremely out of line. She should probably find another job, or you and she need to have a long talk, and maybe consider therapy. Let me ask you this. If one of your employees behaved that way and they weren't your wife, what would you do? You're not the asshole. You might want to have a talk with your employees, ask them if she done this to anyone else and reassure them that no one is losing their jobs. NTA, never okay to scream and abuse people like that. Not the asshole. You are the owner of the company and the boss of your employee, and should be the one dealing with problems like this. No one else work in office admin would be entitled to do what she did. She owes the employee and you an apology, and really should find a different job. Not the asshole. I hope you got a prenup. Not the asshole. If she wasn't married to the boss, she most likely wouldn't be acting like that. I could never work with my husband. When you take a marriage, where you are presumably considering each other as equals, and then move into a situation where one of you are clearly the boss, it is hard to shift out of being an equal. She can be mad, but only at herself. Maybe it's time to find her own career path. You've got to know that there are 0 people at your company that find this a positive thing. At best someone is indifferent to her being there, but this is highly unlikely. Working at a company where the spouse or idiot son is in a position of semi-authority while at odds with the actual owner is a lose-lose situation all around. There is nothing you can do as an employee that is right, other than look for another job. I've turned down 2 jobs at places that were known in my industry to have this issue, once with a daughter and the other time with a wife. My interviewer who gave me the verbal offer said he was aware of my concerns but nothing he could do, wishing me well at their competitor. Is this what you want? Stop making excuses. She treated someone that's worked for you for ages like shit. Fire your wife. Man up. Not the asshole. Don't hire spouses or family members. They'll try to let nepotism play in their favor. Not the asshole. This is why you shouldn't hire your spouse if you own a business, or family in general. Not the asshole for sure. Perhaps it was a mistake to let her even work for you in the first place. While most of the discussion is going to be about her relationship with her wife, for good reason, I can't help but feel awful for this poor guy she was lighting up. A loyal, senior, employee made an honest mistake, then he got put on the grill and in his mind may have lost his job and his source of bread money for his family. I know that's not the point of this convo, but man, I feel bad for that dude. Not the asshole. It would probably be a good idea if she found another job, because this definitely won't be the last time something like this happens, and you don't want something like this to affect customers. Not the asshole. All your best employees are probably looking for new jobs right now. If you let this continue, she'll ruin your business. My wife worked at a place like this and left the second she found a new job. The employees dreaded dealing with the owner's wife. The atmosphere was toxic. Not the asshole. As it's been your business, she should not have challenged you like that. Also, she majorly stepped over some boundaries at the workplace as well. You guys need to communicate and draw some clear boundaries. Whether she's a manager or not, her behavior was abusive to an employee. One time, my dad was trying to Venmo me $20 and he almost sent me $200 by accident. Mistakes like that happen so often, and it really made me happy to read how understanding and patient you were with your employee. Not the asshole. Your wife, on the other hand, is a major jerk. She has no right to treat anyone as nasty as she did, especially since she isn't in a position of authority in your company. Hope you guys have a long talk about your work relationship and home relationship. Info. I get the impression from your comments that your wife has been somewhat involved in the business for a long time prior to her official employment. Can you elaborate further? Not the asshole. Since she could really only find odd jobs, I suggested she work at my shop. You're safe. This is not. Am I an idiot? Why would you do that to yourself? Promote her to do all her tasks remote from home, without any contact whatsoever with your employees. I'd say fire her, but that would most certainly damage your marriage. Hope you have a good prenup anyway. NTA. WTF kind of power trip is she on? She needs a fucking slap of reality to the face. You got a prenup? Not the asshole. Entitled, boss, spouses are the worst. Not the asshole. And #X200B. I don't know how you will proceed, but she had to understand you are the manager, and like it or not, you are the one who has to make any decisions at work. Not the asshole. It's your business and what you say goes. It's not your fault she can't find other work other than odd jobs that she doesn't like. You have to make it clear to your wife that at work your word is final and that she doesn't have a say. I would say to tell your employees to inform you discreetly if your wife continues that behavior at work, so you could tell her to stop that in private. Not the asshole. It's a shame it had to come to you screaming, but she was _way_ out of line. This, sadly, is what often happens when we employ family. Not the asshole. And your wife better go and find herself a job she's more suitable for. She's getting a very easy life and is clearly expecting to get paid what she does for doing very little. It's not her business. It's your business. When I help my husband in his business, I absolutely follow all the rules and do it like he says. He has a system and it works, and I'm not about it to come in there either my 2 cents and change things. Your wife is bored and entitled. She hasn't had to work very hard at all for a pretty cushy life. She needs to apologize to the both of you. You're lucky this worker and you are pretty solid, because losing someone that you can trust in the workplace is significant. She has no right to go in there screaming and hollering like a banshee. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She was absolutely on a power trip and her behavior was not okay. I hope it works out for you. Not the asshole. The only thing worse than the boss's son is the boss's wife. You bring your wife into the business when it's just starting to help it get off the ground and build it. You don't bring her in because she's bored after it's well established. Good way to burn it to the ground and have your employees leave for better grounds. Send her back working odd jobs you don't need the money and hire a bookkeeper. Keep work problems from becoming home problems and vice versa. Not the asshole. She's clearly overstepping here and has no concept of boundaries for your business. Not the asshole. If she's gonna work for you, she needs to be your employee at work. Just see she's your wife doesn't mean she's the boss. Sit her down and explain this to her. What she did is a fireable offense. Not the asshole, but take the lesson. This arrangement isn't working. Encourage her to go back to school and pursue her own career outside of the business instead. Not the asshole, and I really hope y'all got a prenup. Otherwise she'll try to take everything. The way she reacted makes it seem like this isn't the first time she's yelled at someone like that. NTA, IDK. What you expected from being your wife's boss though. So you had a house, 2 cars and a cottage at the age of 25? Not the asshole. Your wife is the kind of toxic nepotistic management that crushes morale and sends the good staff looking for other jobs. Not the asshole. She was power tripping and a loyal longtime employee didn't deserve to be treated like shit in spite of the fixable mistake. You might want to suggest for her to look for another job. Mixing business with personal affairs is always a bad idea and could create conflict like you just described. I own a small business and, as wonderful as he is, I would never let my husband work for me.